Hey, this is Molly, and this is Reed. You can call him Reedster, Reader, Reedo, or Sir Reads a lot. There are many, many nicknames that we've given him over the year. And read them. It's not on me. Thank you. So today I'm going to talk about why I have a service dog. Um, so he's my He's my seizure alert dog, and I don't have what people would call typical seizures. I don't have epilepsy. I have what's called psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, PNES. In England, they call it non-epileptic attack disorder. And although I don't like calling it PNES, I don't like the word psychogenic. It carries too much stigma, which I'll probably talk about probably in another video because it's a subject that I'm really passionate about, and that makes me very angry most of the time. So yeah, I like when I tell people about my condition. If I do, most of the time I say seizure disorder, or non-epileptic seizures if I'm comfortable enough to say that. If it's just a random person that I meet on the street, I just say epilepsy. It's easier. So what is PNES? They are seizures that are very, very real. They're not fake. They are not for attention. They are not some sort of thing that we make up for I don't know what reason. They're very real. We have no control over them. They feel like an epileptic seizure would. I have personally, I've been injured from them. I've broken a finger. I've had a concussion. I've fallen many times and bruised myself and cut myself. I know someone personally whose dad has non-epileptic seizures, and he has to wear a helmet because he's fallen so many times. He actually fell on a screwdriver, and it wasn't pretty. 70% of the why is my phone ringing? I'm not going to answer it. 70% of the population with PNES have it because of some sort of trauma from their past. A lot of war veterans have it. A lot of people just with PTSD, just past trauma, for whatever reason. I'm not sure exactly what the science is behind that, to be honest. And then 30% of the population with it have it for unknown reasons, whether it's more physical condition or no reasons, but either way, it's not caused by electrical misfirings in the brain like epilepsy. I go back and forth on thinking which category I fall in because so I got diagnosed a little over a year ago, in April of my freshman year of college, and before that, a lot of physical things happened. They could have very easily caused the seizures, or they led up to it, or there was just a lot of weird things with me. So the summer before my freshman year of college, I had a really rare condition called serotonin syndrome, which usually happens to people who have overdosed on antidepressants or who have taken high amounts of ecstasy. Anything that raises your serotonin levels very high. For me, Because I have a rare genetic disorder, not disorder, genetic mutation, we found out. I got it by taking a very, very normal, even low dose of antidepressants. That was not a fun, you want your belly scratched? And that was taken by even a small dose of antidepressants. So that happened last summer and actually even happened the summer before. So now I can't take antidepressants, but that's beside the fact. And then 2 months, and also for the past 3.5 years, I've suffered with debilitating daily headaches, and once or twice a week they get absolutely horrible, where I just am in bed all day, can't go out, lights off, can't talk to anyone. I've learned to deal with the headaches most of the time, but it's not pleasant, and it's all the time. And then, so 2 months prior to my seizure starting, I got hit in the head with a beer can. Don't laugh. Or you can laugh, it's kind of funny, but that caused a concussion. So, yeah, it's kind of funny if you think about it. So yeah, for college students, beware of flying beer cans. Lesson number 1. Anyway, yeah, and the next day I completely passed out, and the EMTs were called, and as I was on my way to the hospital, the EMTs saw my eyes roll back, and so we think that that may have been a seizure, but we really don't know. After that, there was I had the basic, concussion symptoms of, nausea and couldn't concentrate, and even worse, headaches and stuff like that. But other than that, I was fine. And then so that was in February, and then in April I had my first seizure, which was really, really terrifying. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I was out with friends, and I was walking home when all of a sudden, I was sober, by the way. I know what you must be thinking, 2 o'clock in the morning, blah, blah. I was completely sober, and I was walking home, and all of a sudden, the world just started spinning around me, and I just fell to the ground. And my friends called, and I was kind of aware of what was going on. It was really scary. And I remember feeling nausea, and my eyes rolled back, and everything was just weird. I don't have a lot of memory of what happened, but my friends called 911, and by the time the paramedics came, I had kind of come out of the seizure, and I was just having a full-blown panic attack. I was just freaking out. And, the EMTs came, they're like, oh, you're fine. This is just a random girl having a panic attack on the side of the street, so they left. And then the next day, it happened again. I was with my boyfriend, and I had a seizure again, but this one was lasting really, really long. And so he drove me to the hospital. And the people there were horrible to me, absolutely horrible. They kind of looked at me. They're like, "Why are you doing that? That's not what a seizure looks like. Why are you doing that?" And on my discharge forms, they wrote malignant. Not malignant, malingering. Wow, no, I do not have cancer. Malingering. Which means that I was faking it. And that was a huge slap in the face. What I was feeling was so real and so intense that I couldn't understand how they could possibly think that. And I got so embarrassed because my boyfriend was there, and we had only been dating 3 months. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna think I'm a freak now. He's gonna think I'm just this girl who does things for attention. that didn't happen. He was really sweet. And then over the next week, it just kept on happening. Every hour or so on the dot, the world was spinning, and I was down on the ground, and it would last a few minutes, and then I was back up. And the people in my dorm kind of got used to it, and like they knew that, you know, like, oh, Molly's going down again. And eventually, luckily enough, I had already had appointments with neurologists because for my migraines. So I called up and I had an emergency appointment with my neurologist, and he initially thought that I was having Topamax toxicity, so overdose on Topamax. So he put me in the hospital until we could get the Topamax out of my system. Turns out I was at perfectly fine levels of Topamax, so we started doing, and I was still having seizures like every single hour on the dot, and started doing tests. The first EEG I had actually showed one epileptic wave, and the others weren't. So from that, we based that his diagnosis was, you know, complex epilepsy that could have been like made more complex by the fact that I have these migraines, and the epileptic wave was found in my right temporal lobe, where I also happen to have a small AVM, which is just a little bundle of blood vessels, which never caused a problem. But yeah, so anyway, there was all these things that happened over time. They were like, well, this seems like it's a real physical problem, and eventually we just didn't know, because there were also, looking back, there were a lot of things in my life that, even though I didn't have one big trauma, could have added up to, I had like a lot of little traumas here and there that could have maybe added up. And I never even considered them traumas, but just a lot of little things throughout my life. I dealt with a lot of issues through my life, which I don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about here. But it could have added up to something. So ultimately, who knows? So yeah, I think that's all for now. I'm gonna talk in another video about the stigma that comes with having these types of seizures, and the way that the medical profession deals with them, because I think for a lot of people with PNES, we get very, very bad treatment by doctors, especially in emergency rooms. So yeah, that's all for today.